On July 30th, Bitcoin began disappearing from wallets that were supposed to be offline. The devices were not sitting in a hacker's hands. Their owners had not necessarily typed their recovery words into a fake website. In many cases, the wallets had remained untouched for years. Yet a coordinated series of transactions emptied address after address in minutes. Early reports counted about 594 Bitcoin. Broader analysis later connected more than 1,000 Bitcoin to a 41-minute sweep. By August 4th, reporting based on Galaxy Research data put the expanding cluster near 1,755 Bitcoin from roughly 5,000 wallets, more than $100 million at the prices used in those reports. That number is still an estimate, not a final official loss total. But the mechanism behind the disaster is now clear enough to expose one of the most dangerous assumptions in digital security. The attacker did not have to break Bitcoin. The attacker may not have needed to touch the wallets at all. The secret keys were predictable from the moment some of them were created. The devices at the center of the incident are called Coldcards, specialized hardware wallets manufactured by the Canadian company Coinkite. A hardware wallet is designed to keep the secret that controls Bitcoin away from an internet-connected computer. The transaction can be prepared elsewhere, but the private key stays inside the device and approves the payment. That separation protects against many common attacks. Malware cannot simply copy a key that never reaches the computer. A phishing site cannot spend coins without the required signature. An air-gapped workflow can even move transaction data using a memory card instead of a direct network connection. But all of that security depends on one event that happens at the beginning, generating the wallet's recovery seed. The seed is usually represented by 12 or 24 words. Those words are not a password selected by the owner. They encode the randomness from which the wallet derives every private key and every Bitcoin address it will use. If that randomness is strong, guessing the seed is effectively impossible. A properly generated 12-word seed represents an enormous space of possibilities, commonly described as 128 bits of entropy. Searching that full space is not a realistic attack. The affected Coldcard firmware did not always produce that promise. According to Coinkite's advisory and subsequent technical explanations, a software change dating back to 2021 could route seed generation through a weaker software fallback instead of the hardware random number generator that was expected to supply true physical randomness. The words still looked normal. The device still worked. The backup could be written on paper and locked in a safe. Nothing on the screen announced that the mathematical foundation underneath the wallet had changed. But appearance is not entropy. For the most severely affected MK3 seeds, Coinkite's reported working estimate was roughly 40 bits under the assumptions being investigated. Later models received additional randomness and were estimated around 72 bits before corrected firmware, still below the intended 128. Think of a secure seed as one ticket hidden among a universe of tickets. The software bug did not print the winning number on the outside. It quietly reduced the size of the universe. An attacker who understood how the faulty generator behaved could create candidate seeds, derive the public addresses associated with them, and compare those addresses with Bitcoin's public blockchain. The blockchain does not reveal a private key. But it does reveal which addresses hold money. Once a candidate seed produced an address with a visible balance, the attacker could possess the same signing power as the owner. No phishing email was required. No malware had to remain on the victim's laptop. The physical wallet could stay locked in a bank box while its Bitcoin moved somewhere else. That is what made the first wave so shocking. Reporting on the transactions described hundreds of single-signature addresses being swept in a tightly coordinated window. The pattern included dormant wallets, rapid consolidation, and transactions that emptied entire balances. It looked less like users independently moving funds and more like an operation working through a prepared list. It also explains why the estimated loss kept changing. On-chain investigators had to decide which transactions shared the attacker's fingerprint and which movements could have been legitimate. Early reports placed the theft near $38 million. The count then approached 70 million. Later reporting added another 40 million and thousands of addresses. Those totals should not be treated as a final ledger of verified victims. Coinkite has not published a final theft number, the attacker remains unknown, and the company's formal technical postmortem was still in progress in mid-August. Blockchain evidence is unusually transparent, but attribution is still analysis. For the victims, that distinction does not reverse a transaction. The uncomfortable part is that many appear to have followed familiar security advice. They bought a dedicated device. They generated a seed offline. They protected the written backup. They avoided exchanges and kept direct control of their assets. Their failure was not necessarily careless custody. It was trusting that the machine responsible for creating the secret had created a secret no one else could reproduce. This incident also produced a more sensational question: did artificial intelligence discover the bug? Coinkite's leadership suggested that an attacker may have used AI to examine years of public firmware faster than traditional review. The code was open source, which meant defenders and attackers could both inspect it. Modern models can search large repositories, compare APIs, and flag suspicious patterns at a scale that changes the economics of vulnerability research. But there is no public evidence establishing how this attacker found the weakness. AI involvement is a hypothesis, not an attribution. The flaw could have been discovered through conventional auditing, careful code review, leaked information, or another method entirely. The more important fact is that public code can remain widely examined and still contain a catastrophic assumption for years. Open source makes inspection possible. It does not guarantee that the right person will inspect the right line before an attacker does. As of August 14, Coinkite says fixed firmware is available for every supported Coldcard model and release track. The current affected range is broader than the earliest warning. It includes seeds created on MK2 or MK3 firmware from version 4.0.1 through 4.1.9, as well as seeds created on later models before their specified corrected releases. There is one crucial detail: updating the firmware does not repair an old seed. A recovery seed is already the source of the wallet's keys. Software installed today cannot add randomness to words generated years ago. Coinkite's current guidance tells affected users to install the correct fixed release, generate a completely new seed, verify the new wallet carefully, send a small test transaction, and then migrate the remaining funds. Strong, unique BIP39 passphrase and sufficient independent dice entropy can change the risk calculation, but they do not turn weak original seed generation into strong original seed generation. Coinkite says users who are uncertain should follow the official migration guide rather than improvise under pressure. This is not only a story about one hardware wallet company. It is a story about where trust goes when people say they have removed the middleman. Self-custody eliminates the bank that can freeze a suspicious transfer or restore access after a password reset. In exchange, the owner depends on a chain of hardware, firmware, build systems, random number generators, backups, signing procedures, and personal decisions. Control becomes direct, but so does the consequence of failure. The business damage extends beyond the coins already gone. Hardware wallet companies sell confidence. Their product is a promise that a tiny device can preserve a secret against criminals, broken computers, hostile websites, and time. When the secret itself is generated from insufficient randomness, the product can appear to work perfectly until the exact moment the money disappears. Coinkite has published fixes, migration instructions, and parts of the remediation have received targeted independent checks. But the company also states those checks are not a complete audit of every firmware binary. Rebuilding trust will require a transparent postmortem, reproducible evidence, and a clear account of how a safety-critical path remained vulnerable for years. The attacker did not defeat the mathematics that secures Bitcoin. The attacker exploited the gap between the mathematics people believed they had and the randomness their devices actually produced. An offline vault can protect a key from the internet. It cannot protect a key that was never truly unpredictable. And that may be the most expensive lesson in this entire heist: a secret is not secure because no one has seen it. A secret is secure only when no one else can recreate it.